All right, so you have in front of you a worksheet that you can download from the site if you don't have this one, but it's types of credit, module 22 types of credit. And you have some blank spaces, so I'm going to go over one at a time and we'll fill in the spaces here together. So the first one is credit cards, and this type of credit is revolving. Okay, so let me see here. Revolving credit. Okay, so later on in this document, you will have to define what revolving is. Does anybody have an idea of what revolving credit might be? Just without looking. Chromebooks down. Off. Thank you. Let's talk about this. I want to hear your ideas. What do you think revolving credit might be? Credit cards are an example of revolving credit. What does revolving mean? I see people do this. Okay, what is this? What do you mean revolving? What does this mean? It comes around again. Okay, fairly regularly. Okay, so you have a space in the back of this paper to write this down, so you might want to jot this down as we talk about it. Revolving credit is credit that you can receive again and again as long as you pay it off. So credit cards, you get credit on your credit card, pay it off, and then you can use it again right away. You don't have to apply for it. It's just like a revolving door. You push out, you use it, and it comes back around to the same spot. So credit cards are revolving credit. You can get the credit, pay it off, and start again, and use it and get the credit again right away. You don't have to, there's no application. So the average interest rate, so we're going to talk about each of these types of credit. Average interest rate, it's pretty high for credit cards. Okay, so average 19%. I'd even say that's low. A lot of them are 22, 23 now, but anywhere from 15 to 30%. Remember, it is interest free if you pay within, usually it's about 21 days or 3 weeks. So if you can pay off your balance within 3 weeks, then you probably won't get charged any interest. It's after that 3 weeks, coming to a month, if it's on your card for more than a month, then they will start charging you interest. So where might you use a credit card? Well, you guys, how many of you have a credit card? I don't think many of you aren't old enough. Okay, when you're 18, I think you can get a credit card if you wish. But yeah, you can use them online shopping, short-term cash needs even, emergencies. And you can also use, this is interesting, to build good credit. I wanted to note that, because using credit cards and paying them off regularly builds up your credit score, builds up your good credit. So if they can see that, hey, you have a credit card and you've been responsible with it, then banks will look at that if you need a larger loan for a car or education or something. Okay, so the next one, sometimes I'm going to put two at once here so you can catch up on your notes here, but the second one is lines of credit. Okay, now this is what they call a given amount of credit with a set limit, and this is revolving as well. So credit cards will have a max credit limit, yes. Lines of credit, this is sort of through your bank, or you can take a line of credit. It's kind of like a low interest loan. It is revolving as well, but it's a little bit different than a card. It's kind of through your bank, and usually you can get more money through lines of credit. So 3 to 5% interest. There's no set repayment. Okay. There's also no grace period. It's not like the credit cards that charge interest right away after a few weeks. These ones can have a little bit longer time. So how would you use this, or when would you use this? Again, unexpected expenses, emergencies, managing your own borrowing. So if you have a loan at a high percent and you want to get rid of that loan, pay it off right away because the interest rate's just so high and you didn't think you're gonna be paying that much, then you could actually use a line of credit that has a low percent to pay off a loan that has a big percent. So you would pay less in interest. So that's what managing your borrowing is like. And it's kind of like a non-card credit card. It's similar, but it's not a card. Okay, so that's what a line of credit is. It's just like another type of credit from usually your financial institution. All right, yeah. I'm going to be moving on. If you don't finish the notes here, I'll come back at the end, but I'm not going to wait for 10 minutes for each line here. So just record what you can. You can even summarize a bit, but yeah, I'll try and leave as much up there as I can. So personal loans is the next one. Okay, there are secured and unsecured car loans. So you're going to be looking up what secured loan and unsecured loan is, so I won't tell you right now. You'll look that up a little bit later. Like a car loan is one type of personal loan. You can get a personal loan for a car or for a trip or whatever, for a wedding or whatever. You can get a loan that's just for a personal use, right? The interest rates range from 5 to 15, so it kind of depends. A lot of times it's 8 or 9 or 10, right in the middle there. It is a set amount, and this does have to be paid off to zero. So those loans usually have a plan for this is how much you have to pay each month. It's not like a line of credit where there's no set repayment terms, but personal loans do. And they usually have a time and calculates to amount per month. So medical bills, personal needs, house maintenance, consolidation of credit. Again, that's the same as managing your borrowing. Like if you have a loan, if you have credit card debt at 22%, and every month you're getting $1,000 interest every month, and this happens to people. People realize that, hey, if I just take out a personal loan or use my line of credit at my bank, instead of paying $1,000 per month while I'm paying this off, I pay $300 a month in interest. That's a big deal. So you can basically take a loan to pay another loan, but this loan has a low interest rate, so you're actually saving a bit of money. Yeah, credit cards are really tricky. If you guys use credit cards, please make sure you pay it off. Yeah, try not to keep stuff on credit cards because it adds up just so quick. All right, we are going to move to the next little section here. So student loans is the next one. These are government loans, and portions of student loans can be forgivable, which is kind of cool. Sometimes the government has, some criteria. If you meet that criteria, that they will, take some money off what you've borrowed. It's not guaranteed, but sometimes there are incentives. Like for example, if you take a loan in Saskatchewan, where we live, if you go to school here, and if you get a job with a certain company, the government may say, hey, we really need workers in this province. So if you get a job with this company, if you say yes to staying here in this province and working, then we will knock 20% off your loan or whatever. So there's incentives sometimes. So student loans are interest-free while you're in school and up to 6 months after your graduation. So there will be an interest, but not while you're going to school. So they realize that students don't make much money. This is the time of life where they have to maybe borrow money to go to school, and so they won't charge you any interest while you're enrolled. You may have to prove proof of enrollment. So if you do take a loan, you may have to, every year, you may have to give them your proof of enrollment in university or post-secondary. But it is to finance your education. Yeah. And sometimes these are based on family need. Sometimes the government will say, yes, due to your financial situation, you get all the money you need for school. Sometimes they'll say you just get half the money you need for school, whatever. But usually they're pretty good to give you what you need, or what you ask for anyway. So that's a student loan. Okay, next in line is student line of credit. So the bank provides, you usually need a parent as a co-signer. The interest will be charged while you're in school. If you use a line of credit, it's a bit different. If you don't qualify for government student loans, or if you have no savings, that's an option for you. So a student line of credit is possible. Just a clarification on what a co-signer is. A lot of times as a student, you don't have a job or you're not making much money, and so let's say you're asking for $10,000 for that year, but you have no job, and the bank's like, I don't know if I want to give this person $10,000. They can't, right now they can't repay it. And so they'll say, we will give you this money as long as you have someone else sign the papers as well, so that if you don't pay it back, then they will pay it back. That's what a co-signer is. So there's two people signing, you and your co-signer. So that is security for the bank saying, okay, we will give you this money because I know if you can't pay it, then your parent will pay it or your co-signer will be able to pay it, okay? So that's what the cosigner is. And sometimes the interest rate depends on the credit of the cosigner. If your parent cosigns a loan for you in school and your parent has very good credit, then they say, hey, you have a low interest rate because you are low risk to not pay this back. We're pretty confident you will. Okay? All right, that's those two. Now let's take a look at these two. So mortgages and home equity lines of credit, those are kind of in the same category, just like the education ones, so that's why these guys are in a little different color. So a mortgage, you guys know all about a mortgage now, all right? That is a specific loan, usually a very large amount to purchase a home or property of some sort. So usually you need 5% of the purchase price as a down payment. So the bank knows that you're serious and that you have the resources to actually pay them back. So there almost always is a cash price down, purchase price, down payment, cash down payment for the purchase price of the mortgage. And 5%, so think about it, if you are buying a house, let's say that's worth $300,000. So what is 5% of $300,000? Now you can go 10%. What's 10% of $300,000? You need 10% is you take 1 0 off the end, right? So that would be 30,000. So what's half? 5% is half of 10%. So what's half of 30,000? 15,000. So if you are ready to buy a home, and you're getting one you're buying a home that's $300,000. Which actually is, about average price here nowadays, honestly, for a decent sized home. You can get smaller than that, but you can get much larger than that. So if you're wanting to borrow $300,000, you have to have $15,000 in your hand, basically, to give to the bank, say that I'm serious, I will repay you back. So that's what a down payment is. And you know what? You can start saving any time for that. That's a good thing to start saving for when you're young. All right, home equity lines of credit. So that is like a regular line of credit, but it is based on your home. The value of your home and your actual home is what backs you up for getting that credit. So you can borrow up to 80% of your home value, because if you don't pay the money back, then the bank takes your home, which sucks, but that's their guarantee. So if you have a $300,000 home and you can borrow up to, if it's paid off for sure, then you can go into refinance your home. You can take a line of credit for up to 80% of that. So what's that, 240,000? 200. You can borrow up to 240,000 for something if you need to. So like if you're starting a business or if you're making a big investment or something, that's what a home equity kind of loan or line of credit is. And you can see that that's this percent here between kind of 3 and 4%. All right. So these aren't as common, home equity lines of credit, but if you have a home, especially if you have it paid off, the bank will say, yeah, we'll give you money, because if you don't pay back, we'll take your home. All right, so payday loans, we're getting to the towards the end here. A payday loan, remember, payday loans are to be avoided if possible, right? Especially because it's a $7.2 billion industry, which they prey on people that are desperate, and they charge extensive fees and interest rates. So fees which amount to like $15 to $20 per $100. So that's like, 400 to 500% loan interest rate per year. It's terrible. So these are never a great idea. They're used to advance your money before your paycheck. You might use these for a real emergency where you can't get money from anywhere else. You gotta be real careful with payday loans. Stay away, stay away. All right, so another thing here is the 3 C's of credit. So if no one will give you a loan, like the bank will give you a loan, so that's when people turn to payday loans. People without the 3 C's of credit: character, capacity, capital, also collateral and conditions are another other C's that are included. All right. So yeah, collateral and conditions. Collateral is assets pledged as a security, so you have to basically sign over your house for a mortgage, collateral for a mortgage and so on, saying that if you can't pay it off, the bank gets the right to take your home and sell it to get their money back, and so on. Okay, next will be leases. Okay, so leases, there are tax deductions for businesses on leases. So the percent is 6 to 9 over a longer period to keep payments low. So a lease is kind of like rental, but it's a specific time period. Usually when you rent something, you can just pay for it and use it for a very short period of time. And you can sort of stop using it anytime. So if you're renting equipment from a rental place, you can rent it for a day, you can rent it for a month, you can rent it for short periods of time and then just forget about it. A lease, if you're leasing something, usually they say, it's like you're renting this from us, but you have to rent it for 3 years. So you have to pay for 3 years for it to use it. So it's a little bit different. So to rent equipment, to keep lines of credit for emergencies to help maintain cash flow, finance a purchase instead of using cash. It is tax deductible expense for businesses. Usually with leases though, if you don't know this already, there is a buyout or there's a residual amount at the end. So it's not like you're purchasing, and this is the difference between purchasing and leasing something. Leasing something, you're just paying for it to use it for a few years. And after that few years, let's say, then it's not just yours. If you're paying for something over 3 years, then you're gonna pay more, and then at the end of the term, the 3 years, then it's yours. You're done paying for it. But a lease, usually the payments are quite a bit lower. So if you're leasing a new vehicle, your payments would be less than if you're buying it. But at the end of the 2 or 3 years, let's say, then there's a big chunk that you would have to pay if you wanted to keep the car or keep the thing. That's the residual, yeah. But the other thing is that you can stop paying for it, and then they take it back, and so it's not yours. You just have to stop. Then you stop paying for it and give it back after the 3 years. So, yeah.
Does it always have to be 3 years?
No, I think I'm using 3 years just as an example. That's pretty common, like for a car or something. Sometimes it's 2. If you're leasing a business space, like for your business.
What about for like construction equipment as well?
Well, so usually leases are longer periods of time than for rental. Yeah, usually there's a commitment to a certain amount of time. If you're renting, you can rent it like just a month at a time. Let's say you can, at the end of the month, you're like, I still need it for another month. So then you go and you say, I want to rent for another month. Okay. And after 2 months, yeah, I still need it for another month. Okay, another month. With a lease, you would have to sign the paper saying, I will pay for this and use it for 3 months. And if you give it up early, like if you say, no, I don't need it anymore, you might still have to pay the full 3 months. That's the difference. Slight difference. Did I answer your question? Yeah?
So if you were like a farmer and like if there was a specific kind of tractor or something?
Yeah, that's right. Tractors for farmers, that's right, yeah. You could lease equipment like that for 3-5 years, whatever. And then after that, then you haven't got it all paid off, though. You just have leased it. So you'd have to either give it back, or you'd have to maybe take another loan to buy it out. It's called buying it out. So if you did like a tractor, and you paid, $1,000 a month for 3 years to have this tractor, then you still might have $35,000 or $40,000 at the end of the term to pay off, or more. So you have to take another loan to actually pay it off. But with a lease, you can use something new, usually, or newer, without totally paying for it all. Okay, was it just one more? Okay, credit card cash advances. Credit card cash advances. So these are really high interest rate as well, 20 to 29. Plus there's a fee. There's the interest as soon as you take the money out, but you can take it out at the ATM. Yeah, so if you use your credit card to get cash from an ATM, that is money that is not yours, that you don't actually have. And credit cards, usually they don't like you doing that. They don't want you to take hard cash out from them. They would rather you, they don't like that. There's extra fees and stuff like that. And it's also charged, boom, from the time that you take it out. until it's all paid off. So if you have an emergency that you need cash for and you don't have money in your bank account, then you can use your credit card. Say, well, I've got $5,000 credit limit on my credit card, so you could go and get $1,000 cash from an ATM or something. But you'll have a bit of a, it's more expensive. Okay, so best thing, save your money. Save some cash, have it on hand. Use credit cards and things like that only when you can pay them off. And like I say, try to pay for things in cash so you don't incur interest payments. There will be, and as we're going to learn in this next unit, there is good and bad credit. Good and bad borrowing, good and bad debt. So you can, like, some debt is okay. Like, not many of us will have enough money to buy a house with cash, right? It's going to take you quite a while to save $300,000 if you'll ever be able to do that, right? So you do kind of have to have a place to live, and so a mortgage is pretty acceptable. But so we'll talk about that too, and what this credit card advances and, you know, payday loans, those would be examples of bad debt. You know what I mean? What you want to avoid. Okay, so I want you, and I'm not going to show you these answers just yet. I have the answers here, but I want you to look up on your own what a secured, unsecured credit is, what revolving credit is. We talked about that already. What an installment loan is, and so on. And then there's also a third question on there that I want you to work on. So from now to the rest of the class, I want you to work on this paper to complete these. You can use your Chromebooks to look up definitions and to look up things online if you wish. Just stick to this assignment on your Chromebook, please. And like I say, we'll go over very quickly. You won't have time to write all this down because you'll have to do this between now and then. But we'll go over real quickly what some of these definitions mean, just so you can see if you've got it on the right track, okay? All right, so that's your lesson on types of credit. Anybody have any questions about anything we talked about today? All right.
That was easy.
Hey?